Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Live at 5. This is a stream I do on Sunday, Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays on my main channel where I come on and I talk about the news or what's going on in the world. And we sometimes have guests on and sometimes we don't. Today, we do not have a guest on, but today, unfortunately, for some reason, I don't know what's going on. My stream is not working over on Gitter. Oh, hang on. I think it is now. Yay, now we're live on Gitter too. So just yesterday, I found out that not only do I have the ability to stream on all my traditional platforms, which is YouTube, Odyssey, Rockfin, and Rumble. Anytime you see me streaming, I will be on YouTube, Odyssey, Rockfin, and Rumble. And now I will be on Gitter as well because Gitter finally enabled my live streaming abilities, which is very, very exciting. We tested it out last night, actually, for the first time on Nothing Remotely Controversial, and it worked out really great. And I actually got a whole bunch of views on Gitter, actually more than I get on some other alternative streaming platforms. But I tell you guys this so you know that just in case anything ever goes wrong with YouTube, you can find me in at least 4 or 5 other places on the internet at 5 o'clock on Sunday, Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Of course, on Fridays, we go over to my second channel, Actively Unwoke, for a happy hour. We haven't done that in a couple weeks, but we're bringing it back this week. And then on Saturdays, I rest. Well, guys, today we have a little bit of a more contentious topic. This is something in particular my friend Ty asked me to comment on specifically, and Ty's in the chat. And, you know, it really has to do with the ongoing controversy surrounding Dave Rubin and his husband having kids, which is not the thing that you think would be controversial. But of course, in the land of conservatives, this is going to be controversial. Ty says, I saw an Instagram live stream where Brandon Tatum and several others were arguing about whether it was appropriate to congratulate Dave and remain friends. Well, I'll tell you this. We're going to watch a video from one Christian conservative today who refused to congratulate him on this momentous life occasion because it just was outside of her fragile Christian sensibilities. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to say this really bluntly and overtly. I don't mind if you're a Christian. Everyone should be able to worship how they want to worship. But to say that you cannot congratulate someone for starting a family because your Christian values don't extend to that type of love and consideration, that's some bullshit Christianity right there. I've read the Bible multiple times. I have read multiple different versions of the Bible. I actually used to study quite extensively. I almost went to graduate school to study the historical Jesus. That's not an exaggeration. That was actually the plan about 15 years ago. I've studied this stuff extensively. Anyone who tells you that you cannot extend love and kindness to someone is not a real Christian. I'm sorry. It's just not true. So we're gonna do a whole bunch of stuff today. Let me just walk you through what we're gonna do. We're gonna look at some of the response to Dave's announcement with his husband, also named David, as it turns out. That they're having kids, which I think is really awesome and wonderful. And I'll say a little bit more about that in a second. We're going to look at some of that. We're going to look at some of the pushback that Dave has received from this. We've got this article from Forbes. We've got this article with Milo Yiannopoulos chiming in because Milo, as we know, is now not gay anymore, allegedly sleeping with women. Okay, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. And then we're going to look at, and this is actually possibly the most frustrating article to me. This is from American Conservative, and it's called No Allies Who Buy Babies. The problem of gay surrogacy reminds us that the right alliance with anti-woke liberals cannot and should not survive. This is an American Conservative, guys. This is not like a rinky-dinky blog. This is not someone spouting off on Twitter. And I'm going to say this too. Do conservatives understand that straight people use surrogacy too? Because they don't seem to have a problem with it when it comes to straight people, but it's the gay surrogacy. It's the gay surrogacy that is the thing we need to call out. Now, our big culminating activity for today is I'm going to watch and react live to this video from Allie Beth Stuckey, who I've always thought was a pretentious stuck-up bitch. And it's called Why I Can't Congratulate my friend, Dave Rubin. Now, I have no idea what Dave's relationship with Allie Beth is. Maybe they really are BFFs, but I'm going to say this. If I'm friends with someone and, I do consider myself to be friends with people who create content and stuff like that and are public on the internet. If I am friends with someone and that person has a momentous, life-changing thing happen to them that should be a happy occasion, I'm not going to make a video on the internet calling that person my friend and talking about why I can't congratulate that person for their momentous life-changing news. Friends don't do that. And I'll tell you this, there are multiple people that I do consider myself to be friends with that are public people that have absolutely made decisions that I disagree with. And you know what I did in those circumstances? I kept my mouth shut. I didn't make a video for clicks. I didn't find a way to profit off of my friendship by saying, "This person is my friend, but I just don't agree with this decision that's in the news right now." No, I kept my mouth shut. Because that's what you do when you're actually friends with someone. You don't utilize something going on publicly in their life in order to gain likes and clicks and views on your YouTube channel. And I'll tell you why. I'll explain more about why I think that's exactly what Allie Beth Stuckey was doing. And we're gonna watch her video because the information that I got about this video was basically people were like, Allie Beth was so nice and considerate and just explained her rationale very clearly. So you guys know that my history is one of changing my mind. How I ended up red pilling was I challenged myself to listen to people who I thought I would disagree with to find out if I really disagreed with them or not. And so I'm no stranger to watching people that I disagree with, and maybe we'll end up doing more of these live reactions on the channel, who knows? But we're going to treat this as I'm going to keep this as an open I'm going to keep it as an open-minded exercise as much as I possibly can. And I'm going to listen to what Allie Beth has to say, and I'm going to give you my thoughts in real time. AD says if you can't say something nice, listen, man, I have no I think I have a pretty clear record of, like, I have no problem shitting on people when I think that they're wrong, not for, like, sport or anything, but if I think they're wrong, I'm gonna say something about it. I would never do that to someone I considered a friend and still call them my friend. I don't know, maybe Allie Beth just has different Christian values than I do. My silly Hitler went to heaven spiritual values where I have these crazy ideas that God loves us all unconditionally and we don't need to do anything to earn that love. We have that love purely by virtue of existing in this universe. Maybe my silly woo-woo spiritual beliefs just don't understand why Christians need to sometimes be judgmental cunts. Oh, I'm sorry I said the C word, didn't I? I apologize. I'm already demonetized. Already demonetized. All right. But before we get into that, guys, I stream, like I said, every day of the week. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, my main channel. I provide clips from those streams. I do happy hours on Fridays. I do spy streams sometimes. If you would like to support the work I'm doing, which of course I would greatly appreciate, I would love for you to become a supporter in my locals community. Now, you can join my locals for free. You can join it at kb.locals.com. And I strongly recommend you do, because even if you're just a free member in my locals and you just want to see what's going on in the community and lurk in the community, I do post things in the community I don't post anywhere else that are not behind a paywall. They're free. But it also gives me a way to get in touch with you in case I get like a stupid YouTube strike or something like that. Plus, you're going to find out pretty quickly that my locals community is like the best community on all of locals. I maintain this position. I might not have the biggest community on all of locals, but I absolutely have the best community on all of locals. And the reason I say that is we do lots of stuff together. We actually act like we're a community. We just did a almost 3.5 hour Zoom call earlier today. It was from noon to like 3:15 or something like that. We do those Zoom calls twice a week. We do them on Mondays at 7 p.m. We do them on Wednesdays at noon. I spend between 6 to 8 hours a week, every single week, on private, unrecorded Zoom calls with my locals community members. I am not usually the one talking on those calls. We listen to each other, we support each other, we help each other out. It's just a wonderful, wonderful, non-judgmental, private environment where we can be sane people and look at things in nuanced ways and all of that. We also do a bitch craft, which is basically craft and bitch. We get on Zoom on the second Saturday of every month and we craft and we bitch. It's exactly what it sounds like. Now, this Saturday, we have something really special coming up, and this is something you still have time to join for. We have been reading this book by Dr. Howard Asher. Here's my copy right here. I got the paperback copy because I prefer reading on paper and not fancy digital things. But Howard wrote an awesome book called 2024. It's an allegory for what's going on in our times. It's a fantastic book. You can still have time to get this on Kindle on via Amazon and read it up. And on Saturday at 3 p.m., we are going to be joined by Howard for a private Zoom call with my local supporters, where people are going to be able to ask him questions about the book. We're going to be able to have a great discussion. And of course, you're going to be able to interact in a way that you just can't interact on YouTube, which I think is pretty great. That's one of the benefits you're going to receive when you become a member of my locals. How you get access to that is by heading over to kb.locals.com/support. You can join today for $5 a month. You can join annually for the next few days only for $45. So that means you're getting 3 months for free. Now, after Saturday, after book club on Saturday, that's going to go back up to $50. Okay, which is not like a huge increase. It's $5. We're not like breaking the bank or anything like that. But if you know you want to sign up for my locals for the whole year, get access to all of our community Zooms, all of our bitch crafts, all of our book clubs. We're just starting. There actually, some of my locals members have taken it upon themselves to start a writers group within my locals community. They're going to be meeting tomorrow at 6 p.m. I'm going to try to be there for at least part of that meeting. So if you have writing projects you want help on or support on, or you just want to be more consistent about your creativity, that's all going to be available for you. We're building out a lot of stuff in my locals. It really is an amazing community. And so not only do you get to support the work that I'm doing, and I help to give back to you guys by providing you platforms and technology and all of these things, you also get to just interact with some amazing people and have all sorts of opportunities to grow your creativity, grow your empowerment, express yourself. It's like the most unwoke environment on the internet. So it's $5 a month, it's $45 a year, or you could also make a one-time gift. And I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate all the support. All right, guys, if you are ready to get started with our stream today, please mount that like button for me. Please make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you are not already. Let's dig into it. Now, I want to just provide a little preface. The very first political issue that I ever cared about with any sort of passion was civil unions in Vermont. Because I grew up in Vermont, grew up in a small town, but always had this kind of like, sense of like fairness and justice and things like that, things that like young people have, right? And so when I was growing up in Vermont, when I was like a junior and senior in high school, there was a campaign in Vermont to pass civil unions, which was the precursor to gay marriage. Civil unions in Vermont were like the thing that came before gay marriage, okay? And so Vermont became the first state to pass civil unions. I think they passed it when I was a freshman in college, but it was an issue that had been kind of winding its way through before that. I was so proud of my state of Vermont for being the first to pass that. For me, that was something that just I never understood why this is one of the things that turned me off, quite frankly, to the Republicans in the first place, because they were so against two people who were like being in love and getting married or getting a civil union at that time. I never understood it, and it always seemed incredibly unfair to me. And it quite frankly is still very mind-boggling to me how much some conservatives care about what goes on in the bedroom between two people. Mind-boggling to me. So that really was the first issue that I was very, very passionate about, and following the frankly, like, gay haters throughout the entire course of the last year has been something I've talked about a lot. In fact, let me start on a different page. Let me start over here. I have been talking, this is a Twitter search for the term gay haters, which is a term I started adopting about a year ago. Now I've got it sorted by latest. So what I want to do is go down to the bottom of this. And what I want to show here is, so throughout 2020, I was obviously traveling around with the walkaway movement. I was around Trump supporters, like MAGA people, an awful lot. And because I was with the walkaway movement, of course, there's more. Walkaway is a disproportionately gay movement. Let's just be blunt. There are a lot of gay people hanging around Walkaway, and it was actually a really great experience for me to travel around the country and see these conservatives being so supportive of what Brandon Strzok was doing, being so supportive of the LGBTQ community, being so supportive of people like Scott Pressler, and being like, just like, I was like, did conservatives change on the gay issue? And then after the election, there were all these MAGA rallies in DC for election integrity, right? I went to the first one in November, the one right after the election, and I'll never forget this moment because there was a guy there who actually had like an overt like Nazi flag, but he was trying to turn people against gay people, and he was like talking about how like gay people weren't welcome in the Republican Party, and I actually saw it happen right in front of me. A mass amount of Trump supporters just encircled this guy at this rally, and they were chanting, Trump loves gays. Trump loves gays. I have it on video somewhere. They were chanting, Trump loves gays. And so I was like, oh my God, it appears conservatives have finally gotten over this issue. And then, unfortunately, after Joe Biden got inaugurated, I started seeing the conservatives and the Christians, I'm sorry guys, slip back into their old ways. Now, not all of them. I should be very, very clear about this. When I'm saying Christians in this video, I'm not talking about all Christians. When I'm saying conservatives in this video, I'm not necessarily talking about all conservatives. But if I stopped every single time I'm in mid-sentence to say, I'm not talking about all conservatives, I'm just talking about this type of conservative, like I'm never going to get through this stream ever. So we're just going to generalize for the moment. But I want you to know quite clearly that I understand that this is not all conservatives and not all Christians. Okay. But there is definitely a segment of Christian conservatives who are still, for lack of a better term, gay haters. And I started to see this on Twitter. I started calling this out. You can see right here. I'll even make this a little bit bigger. March 1st, 2021. This is when I started calling this bullshit out on Twitter. And I said, this is Bryson Gray. Bryson is a massive gay hater. Bryson is such an asshole. Like, I don't know why anyone actually supports Bryson Gray. I don't actually think he's that talented. I mean, I don't really like that type of music either. I could be wrong. But Bryson and his audience are massive, massive, massive gay haters. They were coming after me so severely, and I just like ended up blocking all of them. But this is when I started to identify that this was going to be a thing. So here I've got, hey, if you want to help me identify the gay haters so I can block them, I'm not going to complain. You're doing me a service. Bryson kept retweeting me essentially. Look, he's like, this is so I've got him blocked, so that's not showing up. He's like, you can throw shade. What did I even write? Oh, so Bryson used to love to retweet me to send his followers after me, and they would call me all manner of names. And so what did he like? I said, it's okay, Bryson. We know it hurts you to have so many MAGA folks who love the gays. He's like so upset about all of this. So hang on. I should have done that. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we'll go back. So Bryson and I got in a retweet battle. He said, you're going to throw shade at my followers, and I check you now. I'm the one that gets hurt. You degenerates are out of hand. Bryson is basically calling anyone who supports the LGBTQ community degenerates. Actually, I'm not even going to put Q on there. I hate the term queer. I know so many like gay and lesbians who hate the term queer. This is Disney from yesterday. I had to keep saying LGBTQ over and over again. LGBT community. So Bryson is basically calling them all degenerates, and we're getting into a little battle there. And so I started calling out this issue then, because that's what really made me start looking, was seeing how vigorously Bryson Gray's fans, and there were a lot of them, were coming at me. I was like, is this really still a thing on the right? And I've called this out periodically ever since. On March 4th, I said the gay haters on the right, the ones who are angling for a second coming of the moral majority, are absolutely no different from the SJWs on the left. They even speak like NPCs, just regurgitating the same lines over and over again, regardless of context. That was on March 4th of 2021. Also on March 4th, I'm like in 3 different arguments at once with the woke, the gay haters, and the Democrats in New Hampshire who don't understand they are actually supporting because they're pretending to do it for show. Here we have March 9th. The fact is that you're a hypocrite if you scream freedom and then follow it up with, but not for you, which is exactly what the gay haters are doing when they say they don't want LGBT people in MAGA. If you guys remember, I was in a debate on Elijah Schaefer's channel, Slightly Offensive, with that psycho Lauren Witzke and Blair White and John Doyle about this exact question. Should LGBT people be allowed in MAGA? This was going on around this time. also on March 9th. And now here are the gay haters swooping in because they don't understand why they lost the culture war 30 years ago. That, or they don't care because they exist to be opposition. If you want to lose, jump on the gay hater train because you'll get a lot. You'll get a lot out of it there. On April 26, 2021. You know why I'm so worried about the gay haters? I've seen how people respond to them at rallies. I've seen the crowds they draw. It's not just a few people on Twitter, and their message out regresses the left. They are more a danger than people think. I've been calling this bullshit out for over a fucking year. Also on April 26th, remember, one of the gay haters literally got the Republican nomination for Senate. That was Lauren Witzke. Lauren Witzke has repeatedly proven to be an absolute psychopath. This is on April 26th, and did anyone bother to look at the comments on that debate, because they're overwhelmingly from gay haters? Go back and look at the comments on that debate I was on Elijah's channel. Now, this is not Elijah's fault. I love Elijah. I think Elijah is awesome. I have no problem with him. He is a devout Christian. I've never heard this bullshit come out of his mouth. I think he's great. This is not a reflection of Elijah. It's not a reflection of his shows. It's a reflection of some of the people in the comments on his channel. There's some more. April 28th, I was going to join the Republican Party before the election. I was campaigning for Trump in the entire second half of 2020. It only started to bother them after the election when the gay haters started screaming about it. So fine, the party belongs to your triggered people. And this is so anytime I was talking about the gay haters, I would instantly have conservatives in my feed going, Carlin, you're just a leftist. Oh my God. She's a liberal Republican. That's why she's triggering people. This is me talking about it there. May 7th. Here we have, what do we have here? What was going on here? Oh, so these are screenshots of Bryson's army like trying to attack me, which is really nice. They usually almost always have anime icons. And we're not going to go through all these tweets, guys. I'm just making a point. You want to know why I'm leaving the Republicans? Me. You should support Caitlyn Jenner. Republicans, fuck you. We'd rather lose. No, it's not all Republicans. It's a small vocal minority that no one challenges. You want to support the gay haters, you lose people like me. So at some point, the gay haters actually started driving me away from wanting anything to do with the GOP. Because like I said, this is an issue that I've actually cared about for a really long time. And so when I constantly had these people in my feed over and over and over again, and we can, say that was because of what I was discussing on Twitter or the debate I was on Elijah's channel, whatever, but they actually drove me into the loving open arms of the libertarians more than almost anything else, because I was like, if you guys are going to support these people, this is why you're going to lose. May 7th, I'm talking about it again. May 12th, there's also the gay haters who are larger than people think. I've been talking about this for like a year. It's been a really, really, really long time. And I was right. And a lot of people just said, Carlin, you're a leftist, you're a liberal. No, the gay haters are rising. And they are gaining political power. And what it is, I'm going to explain this like clearly. What it is it's backlash to what's going on the left. It makes perfect sense, right? We've always worried about Daniel, I would actually define you probably as a gay hater. Can you define what you mean by gay haters? People who think that gay people should not have the same rights as everyone else, who actively trash gay people and then blame it on their religion. I'll say flat out, you're going to chat into my channel. I appreciate the super chat, but you and I do not agree on this issue. So I've been talking about this for a really long time, and now we're seeing it, and it's simply backlash. It's exactly like, like all that white identitarian content I did with the term anti-white and showing where that was coming from, and saying that the white identitarians and the growth that they're seeing, because they are seeing growth, is the natural backlash to critical race theory. The left goes to the extreme in one direction, and the right backlashes against it, and they're doing exactly the same thing with the LGBTQ stuff. Now, we can't control what the left does. We should be able to control our reactions to it a little bit more. And to be quite frank, the amount of love that I saw for the LGBT community when the Republicans wanted their votes for Trump, to what I've seen now with how they're treated now, it really makes me question whether that was ever the same, whether the MAGA community ever really accepted them or if they just wanted their votes, if they just wanted to demonstrate how tolerant they were. Now, a lot of people, I'm going to say, again, I want to really emphasize, I know this does not apply to all Christians and I know this does not apply to all conservatives. Well, Daniel, I appreciate that you think gay people should have the same rights. Hopefully, we aren't arguing in super chat the entire time. That would cost you a lot of money, but I appreciate the super chat. I know this doesn't apply to everyone, but my big problem with Republicans and conservatives on this issue is that they absolutely refuse to acknowledge it. They absolutely refuse to acknowledge it. And if you are going to allow these people to exist within your midst and you don't call it out, then I'm sorry, but you are going to be painted with the same brush as the worst people on your side. Because the gay haters are fucking loud. They scream about this stuff all the time. They are completely unapologetic. And when Republicans go, Carlin, we don't see it. We don't know what you're talking about. We don't see it. We don't know what you're talking about. You're just making it up. You're a leftist. Oh my God, we don't see it, even though they're covering their eyes so they don't see it. They don't do themselves any favors. If you want people to think that you legitimately support the LGBT community and you didn't just want their votes in 2020, then you need to tell your Christian conservatives who are doing the things that we're going to look at today on this stream that you need to stop. You need to keep your own house in order. This is a constant conversation that I've had with conservatives over the last 2 years. If you aren't going to speak up when people on your side are doing wrong, then don't expect people like me, who I don't care about tribal politics. I don't care about supporting one team over the other. I'm with the libertarians now, but like I'm not even on a tribe there. If the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire or the Mises Caucus started behaving badly, I would call that shit out too. You have like the what is so sad to me about this entire thing is the MAGA movement was so positive in 2020. It really was. If you weren't there, like you missed out. It was an extremely positive movement and it accepted everyone. And it was a big tent. It really was. And now I look back on it and I'm like, it was all for votes. None of it was real. They didn't believe any of it. Because I don't see that on the right at all anymore, and it makes me incredibly sad. Had the right continued in the same vein as they were in 2020, I think we would be in a much different situation than what we're in today. But anyway, I want to go back and actually start the topic that we intended to, and I wanted to start with this. If you declared my body, my choice when it comes to vaccines, but have a problem with women who choose to use their bodies to be surrogates for people who can't have children of their own, you might be a hypocrite. Now, I've had this discussion with conservatives an awful lot when it comes to abortion because conservatives don't believe my body, my choice when it comes to abortion. I'm pro choice. As you know, I'm not in favor of unlimited abortion. I'm not in favor of abortion after birth. I myself have never had an abortion and I never plan to, but I am pro choice. So when I say my body, my choice, I mean that for abortion. I mean that for vaccines. And I sure as shit mean it for surrogacy. Now, when I tweeted this, I got a bunch of confused people. Who the fuck said that? Right? There are many people who oppose this. I've never heard of anyone opposing surrogacy. That's nuts. Who are they mad someone is getting pregnant in a weird way? There were people who were legitimately confused about this tweet. I'll show you exactly where it comes from. It comes from Dave Rubin announcing that he's expecting twins with his husband David via a surrogate because they're gay men and they simply lack the equipment to naturally birth children. And this is an incredibly happy announcement. I mean, we should all be sending our congratulations to Dave and David. First of all, they're two great people. I know that Dave's husband David has not been publicly facing a lot, but like I've met the guy, and I'll tell you what, like my impressions of Dave's husband is that he's basically like the nicest person in the world. He has really positive energy. He's just like a really sweet guy. And as happy as I am for Dave in this whole announcement, I'm actually even happier for David. And I know that they both wanted this, but I'm just like, I am tickled for both of them for this announcement. I was so thrilled when I learned. And they're the nicest people in the world. And now they're getting all of this ridiculous backlash. Now, to be fair, Dave has said publicly that he's getting so much more support than he is backlash, and I think that that's probably true. I think that most people who are normal, loving, caring people are going to be supportive when an awesome couple that have been together for a while announces that they're expecting twins. Which, I mean, I hope they get some sleep over the next couple months. I'm gonna try to knit them some baby blankets. Um, but like that's the right thing to do, is to say congratulations, we're so happy for you, right? And I really do think that that's probably been the overwhelming response, and I hope that I hope that response is so overwhelming that they aren't even focused on any of this bullshit at all. I hope that they're just like living their lives and loving Florida and having a great time and enjoying this, enjoying their last couple months of freedom without children, and I just like I really hope that that's the case. But there has been a lot of backlash to this, and I think that we should be talking about it. Ty, thank you for the super chat. Ty says, I've noticed many Christians had no problem co opting MAGA and Trump's name to make music and merch, like Bryson. By Bryson's standards, Trump is a filthy degenerate, but he gets a pass because he can monetize MAGA. That's exactly right. If just in case anyone forgets, Bryson Gray is literally famous for wearing a giant red Trump hat. That is why he is famous. Now, what I want to do, so not to overshadow the joyous news for these two wonderful men, but I want to just scroll down. Let's just scroll down on this tweet. Isabel says, two men buying babies, exploiting two women, seeing them as wombs for their use and enjoyment. Parenthood is not a right, a whim to fulfill with money. Women are not for rent. Babies are not for sale. Disgusting. Adopt, don't shop. Now, the issue is that Dave and David are using surrogates because I guess, and please correct me if I'm wrong about this because I may have gotten the details confused. One of the babies comes from David's stuff, and one of the babies comes from Dave's stuff, but they both biologically come from the same mother, so they are going to be related. And then they're using surrogates to have those babies. I think that's wonderful. I think that's awesome. I mean, what a great way to start a family for them. Dave Rubin is an amazing man who has come a long way since his days at the Young Turks. I love Dave's integrity and hope them the best. Yes, and that is the message that we should be sending. Let's continue to scroll down and see some of the other reactions. We've got some good reactions, like PragerU. PragerU commented there. Oh, there's a gay hater right there. Let's see. People ragging on him for having Milo on his channel. So you can see he did get a bunch of congratulations, and I want to acknowledge that. I also want to acknowledge people like Caitlin Bennett, who said, as a woman going through her first pregnancy, all I can say is that it's evil to use a woman for her body and steal away the baby she'll bond with for 9 months. How heartless and selfish. Babies are not a commodity. And again, I have to ask, does Caitlin have a problem with surrogacy when it's not two gay men that are adopting that are taking care of the kids, raising the kids? Does Caitlin have a problem with surrogacy when it's for straight people, but just not when it's gay people? I think we all know the answer to that, probably. And then there was this article in Forbes that came out, and we're going to take a look at this article. But what I want to point out is actually, well, let's just read the article right now. This is the article in Forbes. It's called Dave Rubin is being rejected by his own audience. Dave Rubin, host of the Rubin Report, recently announced that he and his partner husband are am I frozen? Why am I frozen? Oh no. Oh, why am I frozen? Hang on, stand by. Live feed. Okay, am I back? I think I'm back. I think I'm unfrozen. Please confirm in the chat that I am back. Please confirm in the chat that I am back by mounting that like button. Just so I can see. Oh, okay. I froze, but apparently you guys could hear me. Oh, we got a whole bunch of people on Gitter right now. Hello to everyone watching on Gitter. Hello to people on Rumble, on Rockfin, on Odyssey, all those places. All right, now that I'm unfrozen, let's read this article. Hang on. Dave Rubin, host of the Rubin Report, recently announced that he and his husband are expecting 2 children via surrogacy. On Twitter, the response to Rubin's announcement proves striking, with his own fans expressing discomfort or even disgust at the thought of 2 gay men starting a family. Mark Dice. Mark Dice is one of the people that's been going after him. Naruto, not really twins though. The eggs came from 2 women. I thought it was the same woman. Whatever. It's fine. We're gonna call. They're basically like. They're like, you can even call them Irish twins if you want to be like fancy about it. They're born close enough together that I have no problem calling them twins. Come on, they're gonna have to raise 2 babies at the same time. Good for them. But Mark Dice was one of the people who came out after Dave. This is horrifying, buying women's eggs and then renting other women's wombs to grow their children, who will be deprived of their mothers, instead to be forced to be raised by gay men as theirs. Any Christian or conservative congratulating them is as bad as Mark says. Now I'm going to say this. There is no doubt in my mind that Dave and David are going to be wonderful husbands. Or wonderful husbands, obviously. Wonderful parents. There we go. That's what I meant. There is no doubt in my mind that Dave and David are going to be wonderful parents. There is no doubt in my mind that Dave and David are going to provide those kids with love and support and everything they need on a practical level. They're going to have an amazing life, an amazing family. And that's really all that should matter. That's all that should matter. Everyone in this relationship is participating consensually. Every single person, from the donors to the surrogates to Dave and David to everyone else involved. Everyone else has consented to be a part of this relationship. Nothing is being stolen from anyone, and anyone who says it is are liars. They're liars. Jenna Ellis, who everyone loved when she was, the lawyer for Trump for all that stuff. No amount of respectful dialogue can overcome the inconvenient truth that the homosexual lifestyle is morally wrong. I love my friend Dave Rubin, but I do not support his lifestyle or raising children with 2 dads. Moral gerrymandering does not and cannot legitimize any sin. So she loves him so much, and he's so much of a friend, that she denounces him and his family publicly on the internet. I wouldn't be friends with someone like that. I'm sorry. You denounced me and my family publicly, and I'm not going to consider you a friend. This is not a difference of opinion. You denounced me and my family publicly. Not a difference of opinion. Sorry. Daniel, if you want to pay me money to argue with me, I guess you're more than welcome to. Are you maybe confusing some Christians disagreeing with people's choices with calls to restrict their rights? No. You can disagree with their choices in your little bigoted Christian ways, but I'm not going to pander to this. I was canceled by conservative Christians for expressing a spiritual belief that hell is not a real place. So don't start. I am in no mood to hear from Christians, Carlin, it is but a choice. I was canceled vigorously by Christian conservatives who couldn't handle someone having different spiritual beliefs. So you can keep paying me money to send in super chats if you like, but I'm not pandering to this bullshit. I don't care if you send in $1,000 fucking super chat. Those aren't the same. I can support your rights to do something I disagree with. Okay, well, most Christians don't. Sorry. I shouldn't say most Christians. Many Christians do not. Incognito, it's all consent. What the fuck is their problem? Horseshoe theory. That's exactly right, Incognito. And I think I missed another oh, no, it wasn't a super chat. Alexandra sent in a member chat. Alexandra, thank you for being a member of the channel for 12 months. So excited to receive my delivery update for Actively Unwoke. Expected delivery on April 26th. Peeps, have you mounted that like button yet? I appreciate that, Alexandra. So you can see we've got some blue check conservatives coming out against him. Jenna follows up here. Where are the same conservatives who railed against Pete Buttigieg? There is literally zero difference on this issue, except Pete is a Democrat and Dave is a Republican. Political party is the moral plumb line. Jenna is very stunning and brave. This article also had just a bunch of random people quoted on here. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. But Dave specifically called out this article. He said, extraordinarily evil hit piece by Forbes journalist Danny. journalist. I've received tens of thousands of messages, maybe more, from support from my audience, got hate from a few Twitter blue checks and anonymous accounts. There's a picture of me with Candace, who isn't in the article. Dave goes on to say, you are an absolute dirtbag hack, Danny, the piece of pure trash, and you should be absurdly ashamed of yourself. A more interesting and honest article would have been the tremendous support across the political spectrum, but you have an agenda. Now, Dave has a point. Again, I want to acknowledge it looks to me like Dave had much more support than he did backlash. But my point in doing this is to point out that this is absolutely an element that exists on the right, and it is only going to drive people away from your side. It is not going to do any good. It is only going to hurt you. Ty Green says outrage about surrogacy, saying he should adopt is so dumb. Both involve a mother intentionally having a baby she intends to give away. The only difference between the two is the middleman. That's exactly right. Ty, that is such an amazing point. But I want to point this out. So this is something so Kurt retweeted this, and he thinks they think we are dumb enough to let them divide and conquer. So there are some conservatives that are trying to paint it as, oh, we are all together on this, and there are just a few people who are out in left field, but really we're together. No, you're not, dude. This is the type of response from conservatives that really pisses me off. It tries to sweep all this bullshit under the rug when there are multiple instances of high-profile people on the political right doing this, not because they have a problem with surrogacy when it comes to straight people, but because they're gay haters. And we need to call them what they are. They are gay haters and nothing more. And that's just really all there is. Now, Glenn Beck had Dave on his show, and I want to listen to this little clip from the interview real quick. So I need to take that down, and I need to bring up my Chrome tab so we can hear the audio. And I want to just listen to this clip. Glenn said, tonight I have had a hard and honest conversation with my friend and fellow Blaze TV host Rubin Report about his decision to have kids through surrogacy. He tells me, I get why the right has these often legitimate fears, but that can't stop us from having respectful discussions. All right, let's play.
I get why the right has these, what I would argue are often legitimate fears, because the left does not stop eating civilization.
Correct.
And think about what an unfortunate position that puts us in, because then someone like me can make an announcement like this, then good, decent, thoughtful conservatives, some of faith, maybe some not of faith, whatever it is, could reach out and say, boy, this is what an interesting opportunity, and sure, it's a little different, and whatever, all the love that you and the Blaze guys and everyone else are giving me. And then there's this other part that's legit, which is, if we move the line, they're going to keep going. And I don't know what the answer to that is.
Dave.
I honestly don't, because that has nothing to do with me and how I'm going to live my life.
I think, and this is why I wanted to have you on, because I don't have an answer. I am, you know me, I'm a deeply religious man, and my religion says man and a woman, that is the basic building block of family. We're probably the clearest church on this, because it's been in our doctrine for 200 years. So we're very clear on that. But that's marriage and relationships, and that's what I believe. But I also know God created you just like he created me, flaws and all. I believe I have a gene, they've never found it, that makes me very susceptible to alcoholism because it runs in my family. So does craziness, but it runs in my family. The same thing with things that I don't understand. And if we can't have a conversation about things that we don't necessarily understand and probably won't until we get to the other side, we have to just work it out together and be able to say, Dave, I disagree, or I don't know what the answer is, but I love you.
You know, and I appreciated that clip because, I mean, at least they're trying to have some respectful dialogue. At least they're trying to have that. Now, let me show you who is not having respectful dialogue. Hang on, let me bring it up. And I want to acknowledge, listen, I think there is a difference between someone saying, you know, this is a little curious for me. I don't really understand it, or this doesn't necessarily align with my belief system. There is a difference between that and saying you are a horrible person for having a surrogate to birth children, and I will not congratulate you, but I'll still call you a friend, but I won't congratulate you. I'm sorry, I completely reject this idea from some Christians that I can hate the sin and not the sinner. I can hate your lifestyle, and the person that you choose to love, or love isn't a choice most of the time. I can hate everything about your personal family relationships, but we can still be friends, right? No. Not everyone needs to believe what you believe. AD says, using a critical feminist theory lens of analysis, these women could never really consent, not in a racist, patriarchal, homophobic, transphobic, etc. place. If that's what I believed, I'm an idiot. Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you there, AD. Jared says straight Christians can marry when they shouldn't, have children when they shouldn't, can divorce and remarry when they shouldn't, but a gay person can't have anything because of morality. Yeah, that's exactly right. And the other thing too is like these people making arguments that, well, marriage is between a man and a woman, and I think a baby is going to be better off in a home with a mother and a father than two fathers. I mean, I guess that's one perspective. Have you ever thought about all of the children that are raised in homes with mothers and fathers when those mothers and fathers don't really love them? Is it better? Is it better to be raised in a home where you are unloved by your biological mother and your biological father, but it's all nice and Christian like? Then is that worse than being raised by two men who are in a loving, supportive relationship who will unconditionally love those children? I would rather every single day be raised in a loving, committed relationship with two fathers than in something similar to what I experienced, which was being raised by my biological mother and father, but not really ever being loved. I would take the latter every single day. The only requirement that we should have for what makes a family is like, do you love them and are you going to support them? That's it. And most people don't even have to meet that. Most of these good God-fearing Christian families don't even have to meet that. They don't have to ask anyone's permission. They don't have to engage a surrogate. They don't have to go through the years-long process to find a surrogate and do the fertilization and all that stuff and like have the risk. And I mean, I know that they tried to get pregnant before and it didn't work out, and how devastating that must be. It just blows my mind. Let's read this article. Ex-gay Milo calls for executing, I'm not going to say that word, Dave Rubin and his husband after they reveal they are fathers. No. See, this is what Christians always try to do. So we all need to believe what you believe? No, you don't. What I would prefer you do is not be raging assholes. But if you're going to act like raging, judgmental, bigoted assholes, do not expect anyone else to support you. That's the point. If you guys are going to act like raging, judgmental, bigoted, homophobic assholes, don't expect any person to join your team that doesn't care about your, frankly, I would call perverted interpretation of a couple of passages in the Bible. I've read the Bible too, dude. I don't interpret it in the same way that you people do. George Andre Veloso Nunez says, I can answer that from experience. It's terrible to be despised by your mother and father. Dave has been trying since the beginning of 2020. Yeah. Biblically, Mormons deny the God of the Bible by their doctrinal beliefs. Well, biblically, Mormons also think that black people are inferior beings. That is actually in their book, if you've never read it. And I don't have any problem with Mormons, by the way. Listen, you can be a Christian and not be a homophobe. And I'm not saying homophobe in the way that the left is. I'm saying homophobe in we're seeing some homophobic shit right in front of us right now. First, an announcement from Rubin's YouTube channel. Dave Rubin of the Rubin Report shares the ordeal of him and his husband, David Janet, trying to have a baby during the COVID pandemic. While the heterosexual couple starting a family is easy in most instances, it is not the same for gay couples. Dave takes you through the whole sperm donor process, the egg donor process, the website that allows you to pick a gestational surrogate, who he saw outside the fertility clinic right before COVID lockdown shut it down, and what he's excited about and what he's excited to join the Gay Dads Club. As you can see from just a small sampling below, Rubin is being celebrated by some right-wingers, but far more are hurling the usual attacks. Again, I wouldn't say it's far more, but there were definitely some. Also below is Rubin's 2019 defense of having Milo Yiannopoulos on his show. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with Dave Rubin having had Milo Yiannopoulos on the show. That is what the book says. We can look it up. I've got the Book of Mormon on my bookshelf right over here. It absolutely does say that. It absolutely does. That's right. Wing Watch, I don't really care about that. What I care about is going down and seeing some of these reactions. Congratulations! Which one of you is carrying them to term? You wouldn't rob them of their mother, would you? That's cruel and selfish. Wow, never knew renting a woman's womb was, checks notes, conservatives. Don't call yourself a conservative if you celebrate this. I couldn't imagine growing up without my mom. A person you can't just buy a person. The conservatives are literally equating this to surrogacy. No, I'm not. That's what your book says. We can have that discussion another time. I'm happy to quote the Book of Mormon. I've read the Book of Mormon. I've read all the religious books. I know what they say, dude. Woman, my sister in Christ, is there anything you should be fighting about? It's sexually immoral men using female bodies to carry children God did not make them to carry. Libs of TikTok congratulated these men, so I suggest not following them either. Why is PragerU and the Blaze congratulating this? Morals matter. Sexual morality matters. Homosexuals purchasing children from some uterus catalog is a form of human trafficking. Oh, that's nice. Isn't that nice? These selfish, degenerate men are purposefully robbing these precious children of their mothers. Rubin and his conservative ilk are no different than insane leftists Pete Buttigieg and Chasten. Fine, I don't understand the Book of Mormon, even though I read it, even though I sat with members of your church who interpreted it, just because you guys are ashamed of what your book says, and it says some fucking racist shit. Like, legitimately racist. It legitimately says, the Book of Mormon says that black people are black because it was a punishment from God. That's what it says. Google it. Just like these guys right here. May God punish your disgusting... Like, look at this. This is real, guys. This is real. So let's move on to read this article. We're going to read this article, and then I'm going to respond to this video. Obviously, today's stream is going to be going a little bit long, but I have a lot to say on this issue, and as I've been talking about this issue for damn near a solid goddamn year now, I've had some pent-up feelings about it, all right? I have some feelings. But this is from American Conservative. So you would imagine that American Conservative might be a place where we might have a more nuanced take of conservatism. So let's see. No allies who buy... Okay. Oh, you can go into timeout. You can manage your feelings in your timeout. No allies who buy babies. The problem of gay surrogacy reminds us that the rights alliance with anti-woke liberals cannot and should not survive. Now, I want to say at the top, those who follow me know that know that I think that there's going to be a libertarian spoiler for president in 2024. I absolutely do. I think the primary place the libertarian spoiler is going to pull votes from is going to be from the Republicans. I think they don't see this coming. And one of the things that the Republicans are going to have to contend with is that when they're running someone for president and they're trying to court politically homeless people, you need votes to win elections, folks. You need votes to win elections. And when this is the message that gay men starting a family are not people that the right wants to align with, okay, you don't need our votes then. You don't need our votes then. There is nothing that the Republicans right now are saying or doing that would convince me that they care about having my vote in any way, shape, or form. Absolutely not. Let's read. Dave Rubin began his career in the late 90s as an intern for Jon Stewart, the putative comedian who was then the host of The Daily Show. I didn't know that. In the first years of the new millennium, he transitioned to the podcast game, heading up such smash hits as Hot Gay Comics and the Ben and Dave Show, the irreverent show where anything goes, under the aegis of Here, an LGBT TV network. By 2013, he was hosting The Rubin Report, an online political talk show for Cenk Uygur's left-wing outfit, The Young Turks. He went independent after a few years, and ever since has been making a kind of political journey, from progressive to liberal to self-styled conservative, read, still liberal. In an interview last year with the Daily Signal, Rubin explained, while he has started to call himself a conservative, he doesn't actually mean conservative. I think he's a libertarian. I don't know why Dave is pandering to this conservative audience. I think a lot of his friends are conservatives. Well, his friends now. But if I had to guess, I would say he's a libertarian and he just doesn't realize it yet. Or maybe he thinks the Libertarian Party sucks. I don't know. I actually think that even on the conservative side, there's a wide tent of all sorts of issues. You could even take an issue like abortion, which for most conservatives is like, usually as thought of as one that you must be pro-life. Well, there's people like Rudy Giuliani, who's obviously a conservative, who obviously worked for President Trump. He's pro-choice. He's begrudgingly pro-choice. He wants very specific limits on things and things like that. No one is running around saying he's not a conservative. I am. If we cannot draw a line in the sand between ourselves and those who would sanction the industrial slaughter of unborn innocents, then American conservatism is just pointless but actively destructive. I don't care how big the tent is. If it has baby killers in it, I am leaving. Do you know when the Republicans lost my vote for the foreseeable future? It was when I said, I don't want women who have been AR'd. I don't want women who have been assaulted to be forced to give birth to the child of their assailants. This is actually the first run-in I ever had with Allie Beth Stuckey, by the way. Allie Beth Stuckey said to me on Twitter that she wants to force women who have been assaulted to have the babies of the men who assaulted them. I don't agree with that. And for that, I was called the baby killer 15 ways from Sunday, and forevermore, Republicans lost my vote after that. Forevermore. Because I will not be, if you want to talk about drawing lines in the sand, the line in the sand that I will draw is I will not vote for people who truly believe that we should force women who were never given a choice in the matter to have children of the people who assaulted them and performed one of the worst possible things that can happen to anyone. I don't want to be a part of that. Sorry, that's my line in the sand. Yet we cannot afford, if only as an electoral matter, to be purists on every single issue of less grave and moral substance. Alliances, by their nature, entail tensions between each party's interests. The question is where we draw the line. Do we believe along socially conservative Reaganites who insist on a laissez-faire economic agenda? Sure. Some libertarians who might not be incensed at the legalization of marijuana, why would anyone be incensed at the legalization of marijuana? I suppose we might be as well. Foreign policy hawks who are solid on domestic issues, that's a tougher question. What about trendy conservative ally of the week? The anti-woke liberal. who is more likely than not to be a politically gay comment. Hang on. Sorry, coughing. Still sick. Oh my gosh. A more apt screen name I've never seen. Some idiot I know. Oh, hang on, guys. Sorry. It sneaks up on me. Everything's fine, and then all of a sudden I'm hacking up a lung on the internet. Some idiot I know thinks I'm very weak, while some idiot I know just got blocked. Okay, let me read this sentence again. Whew. There we go. And what about the trendy conservative ally of the week, the anti-woke liberal, who is more likely than not to be a gay political commentator? Rubin, Andrew Sullivan, Chadwick Moore, Douglas Murray, Barry Weiss, etc. If there was any hope that such people belonged in the new conservative movement, Dave Rubin did away with it this week with the announcement that he and his legal husband, also named Dave, are expecting 2 children this coming fall. The announcement was met with effusive congratulations from some of the leading lights of the very online right, including many of those whose good work suggests they ought to know better. From Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, from Florida Governor's Ron DeSantis' press secretary to anti-CRT crusader Chris Rufo. Even high-profile accounts devoted to exposing the insanity of the LGBT left crossed sides to declare their approval of Rubin's impending procurement of 2 children. A2 lives of TikTok. So again, this is not some blog. This is not Bryson Gray being crazy on Twitter. This is not Brandon Tatum wondering out loud on an Instagram live stream if he should congratulate Dave Rubin. This is an American fucking conservative saying, how dare these conservative influencers congratulate him? Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me? Oh, and see, this is what I hear. This is what I always hear from, this is what I have heard from conservatives for the last year when I have pointed out this problem. Wow, Dr. B, you're sounding like a leftist. I hear this all the time. Literally every single time I have correctly pointed out this problem and this trend for the last year. You sound like a leftist. This is an American conservative. This is not some random Twitter thing. This is not a Twitter beef. This is not a random post somewhere. This is an article in American Conservative. Clean up your own side. Take issue with your own side. In a video posted to his YouTube channel, Rubin explains in graphic detail the process by which he and the other Dave created the 2 children. First, he explains that he was so career-driven that he never seriously considered having children. He reflects, in a weird way, I guess the gay thing kind of gives you like an easy out on that because I'm not a scientician, but it's hard for 2 biological men or 2 biological women to actually reproduce without some help. Hard? Does that mean they can't pull it off if they really put their minds to it? Rubin explains further that growing up in the dark ages of the 1980s New York, he didn't quite think it was normal for 2 men to have babies together. He catches himself quickly, though. I don't like that word. Normal. No, this is not by Ali Besky. We haven't gotten to Ali Beth yet. We haven't gotten there yet. This stream's going long. I've been complaining a lot. But the other Dave finally wore him down, and the 2 men jumped into a process that seems, to a sane observer, intensely dystopian. There are young women who are willing to donate their eggs, and women obviously make a lot of eggs. Some make a lot of eggs, some don't make eggs, but the donors are usually young and healthy. And if they want to help people that otherwise can't have children, they can donate their eggs. So you basically go on all of these websites. There are all of these sites, and it's sort of like Tinder, or whatever app you were dating on, where you kind of swipe through the people and you say, oh, I like the way she looks, or this girl has a great education, or some combination thereof. And you know there are different rates and things. Okay, I'm sorry. If this is really an anti-conservative thing, I would like a list of how many conservatives have been vigorously campaigning against sperm donation, because sperm donation is exactly the same fucking thing. How many conservatives are against sperm donation? Do they have a moral objection to that? It's literally the exact same thing. And again, where's the list of conservatives that are oh so against surrogacy for straight couples who can't have kids? Incognito says, here comes the brigading, we got your back. I don't know about the brigading. We seem to be pretty fine so far. That's all right. Hate watcher's gonna hate. That last sentence presumably refers to the amount of money Rubin would have paid to give the women to purchase their eggs. Yes, it's a value exchange. An egg is something of considerable value. It is. So they got paid for it. So what? People who donate sperm get paid for that too. The podcaster goes on to explain that a number of eggs, 18 the first time around, were taken from this woman and split into two groups, each of which would be fertilized with one of the two men's semen. Some of it takes, some of it doesn't take, but suffice to say there would be a few zygotes, biologically distinct human beings, were created in the process. And then you need surrogates. So the surrogate obviously is the woman who carries the child. So basically, what you've got cooking here is that we have one baby that is from my stuff and one baby that's from David's stuff, but they will have both have the same biological mother. We wanted them to have that sort of genetic connection. And right now there are two really fantastic women, and you know, it's not an easy thing being a surrogate. This is not something people really do for money. They do it for a higher purpose for sure. And really, two absolutely amazing women are carrying our babies right now. This is evil, plain and simple. An American conservative. It is surrogacy is evil, according to these people. Dave and Dave paid for the creation of roughly 18 unique individual human beings just so two of them could be successfully implanted in rented wombs and delivered to their purchasers after a 9-month interval. The fate of the other 16 need not to be spelled out. Okay, so is Americans conservative coming out against all surrogacy? Or is it just when there's a gay couple involved? I'm going to suspect it's the latter. Ty says, please go as long as possible. I'm greatly enjoying this. Thank you, Ty. Thank you for encouraging me in the comments to tackle this topic. Now, Ty started encouraging me a couple days ago. So if you make a comment on my channel, you never know. I might actually do a whole stream about what you want to talk about. Oh, we're still seeing same latent leftist behavior. I'm gone. People are like, wild packs of animals here. Yes, get the fuck off my channel. In fact, you know what? If you're going to come on and call me a leftist for correctly pointing out that your side is saying some evil shit, you don't even need to leave, dude. I can block you. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Calling this out for a year, and conservatives still can't hear it, even though I'm literally reading from American Conservative. This, of course, is the primary issue, the moral abomination of surrogacy itself. Oh, they are against surrogacy itself. Well, at least I guess they're consistent about that. The commodification of a human child, the relegation of a woman to the status of incubators. This is a secondary concern as well. No. You know who relegates women to the status of incubators? Every single conservative who says women who are assaulted should be obligated to carry the child of their assailant to term. That is a human incubator. That is what the pro-life crowd believes. That is literally what I've been told by Allie Beth Stuckey on Twitter. That is what a human incubator is. Giving the women no choice in performing the act that got them pregnant in the first place. Giving the women no choice about whether or not they should have to carry that child to term. That is what a human incubator is. Someone who voluntarily donates their eggs is not is not doing it against their will. Someone who is a voluntary surrogate says, I am willing to carry that egg to term. That is not a human incubator. That is someone who has made a choice. Allie Beth Stuckey literally believes people should be human incubators, but she believes it should be women who have been victimized. She believes it's perfectly okay for those people to be human incubators because she's pro-life like a good little conservative. But when it comes to a surrogate making a voluntary decision to engage in a process, oh no, that is just beyond the pale. The same people who make a living being outraged that Leah Thomas, who is, I'm not going to say that, allowed to swim in the women's races for his college, her college, I will use the proper pronouns, because you give people basic respect and courtesy, conservatives. You give people basic respect and courtesy. And tell us there's nothing wrong with two dudes having a baby together. Oh, see, again, this is really the distinction. They're not upset about surrogacy. They say it in the article. They can feign outrage. Oh, all surrogacy is wrong, but it's really the two men that they have the problem with. It's really the two men. Here's another one. You are a leftist. Block. The normalization of homosexuality, especially the normalization of homosexual parenthood, necessarily leads to the more radical gender ideology advancing from the left today. If men and women are perfectly interchangeable in sex and in the role of a mother and a father, these things are most closely tied to biological reality, then, of course, they must be interchangeable in everything else. The premises underlying the acceptance of L, G, B, and lead to T sooner or later. So literally, this argument right here is the exact same argument that I heard from the moral majority in the 1990s, and it is what has always made me really apprehensive to have anything to do with the Republican Party. This mentality has been around for a long time on the right. The right has a choice to make. Are they going to flush this mentality out of their respective side and accept that most lesbians and most gay men really don't care about any of this activist bullshit at all and they just want to be happy and live their lives? Or are they going to continue to look like hateful fucking bigots? That's the choice they have to make. AD, do I believe in a post-gender world? Nope. I don't. I don't at all. Okay, Daniel. Calling people bigots for disagreeing with you is pretty leftist adjacent. Daniel just got banned. Thanks for the super chats, Daniel. I'll enjoy spending your money. Enjoy your block. If you guys want to fuck around and call me a leftist, you can show yourself out from the channel. I don't give a fuck. Don't care. A conservative movement that makes its peace with the former three will have to reckon with the latter. With all the torment and chaos it entails, it will also have to answer for the children who become laboratory waste so that Dave Rubin could feel just a little more fulfilled and the two survivors forced to grow up without a mother. It will bear the weight of an order in which eggs and wombs and babies are bought and sold and rented, and helpless children made and paid for by sterile West are left stranded in a war zone. Rubin has a book coming out next month. It's called Don't Burn This Country. I wish he'd make the prospect a little bit less tempting. And there's our author right there. American conservative. American conservative. This is not a good look, conservatives. It's not. And I'm no longer gonna accept you're just a silly leftist and you look like a leftist. If you agree with people like this, you are not someone I consider an ally. I'm sorry. You are certainly not someone I consider a friend. Love is love is love. And most people are just trying to live their lives. Dave and David want to have a family, and they have the ability to do that. They have the means to do that, and they will provide those children with more love than they could ever imagine. And that should be all that matters. What should be celebrated right now is that someone in Dave Rubin, who has gone out on a limb for conservatives, Dave Rubin has probably brought more people over to the conservative side than most people have. Dude's literally written 2 fucking books about it. And this is the things he gets from American conservative. Things like this just show me emphatically over and over and over again that the political right has absolutely no interest in winning at all. The political right has no interest in winning because the political right doesn't want votes. They're more interested in political purity tests than they are in anything else. AD says, we need a Dave Darrell of the gay community. I'm not sure exactly what that means, AD, but sure. Please explain to me, and we're going to watch the video in a second. Please explain to me how conservatives ever think they're going to win anything if they keep putting out stuff like this. Do conservatives not know how elections work? Or are they just really wrapped up in this ideology that they're going to be stolen anyway, so why don't we just say the most bigoted, homophobic shit we possibly can? Is that really what's going on? Have they already just resigned themselves to losing? So they're like, we're just going to give in to the most extreme, hateful impulses that we have. Gypsy Witch Production says, I was a Christian for 45 years. When Christians can love their children unconditionally, then they can talk. I agree. Bill says, standing by your faith is one thing, but Christian zealotry is the #1 reason why so many non-Christians get scared into voting Democrat. Bill is 100% right. It is literally this attitude from conservatives and from Christians that made me a Democrat. I followed all this stuff when I was a teenager. It is literally, this article could have been written in the 1990s. I read stuff like this all the time in the 1990s. And it is stuff like this that drove me into the Democratic Party, because I was probably a 2-issue Democrat. 3-issue. Anti-war. I've always been extremely anti-war, and in the 90s, it was George W. Bush who went into Iraq when Iraq never had weapons of mass destruction. So I was always against that. It was also the free speech issue, because again, in the 90s, the moral majority was trying to censor what people could talk about in video games and art and all this stuff. So it was a free speech issue. And then it was the gay issue. Those 3 issues combined. Even though I'm not gay, I do believe that everyone should be able to love who they want to love, start a family with whoever they want to start a family with. It was those 3 issues that made me a Democrat. Conservatives are making a lot of Democrats this week. They're making a lot of Democrats. Once again, making it harder to fight back, just the way it is. All right, guys, so now we're going to go into the extra special fun portion of our show. We're going to watch this video right here. Now, I bring up this screen. This is Allie Beth Stuckey's YouTube channel. And I just want you to notice that Allie Beth Stuckey calls herself a friend of Dave Rubin. They may be. I have no idea. I have no idea what their relationship is. They may be BFFs. But when I see a video titled, Why I Can't Congratulate My Friend Dave Rubin, and I see it has 87,000 views, and then I look around at the other uploads and I see 10,000 views, 20,000 views, 13,000 views. Oh, she got 121 there. 6.5 thousand views. Now, I don't really care about like the number of views videos get usually, but I will tell you that content creators like to do things like take advantage of a news cycle in order to get more views and clicks on their content so they can make more money. I find it a little curious that this happens to be one of the better performing videos that Ali Beth Stuckey has had on her channel, probably in the last month, by a significant degree. So I'm sure that Ali Beth Stuckey would never do, because she's a Christian, right? She's a Christian. So she would never do something like take advantage of a friendship in order to make content, to virtue signal to her audience to make money. I'm sure that would never happen. I'm sure that would never happen. You can draw your own conclusions there. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. But let's actually watch the video. Now, I've heard from a lot of people that Ali Beth is just so nice in this video. She just explains her position so well and so nice. So I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to hear her out. But I'm sorry. I'm going to say this again. With my friends, if my friends are in the news, and occasionally my friends are in the news, some of my friends, not all of them, thankfully. But if my friend is in the news and they are in the news for something that I disagree with, do you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to abuse that friendship by making a video to take advantage of likes and clicks to make money on the internet about my disagreement that I have with my friend. Let me give you an example of this. I know why Adam Krigler got fired off of Timcast IRL. I know emphatically why he got fired off of Timcast IRL. Did you ever see a video about that from me? Do you all think that I wouldn't have made a boat ton of money by making a video about why Adam got fired off of Tim's show? I would have made a metric fuck ton of money on that video. Let's just be honest. I would have made a metric F ton of money off that video. Did you ever see that video? No. You want to know why? Because at the time, I considered Adam a friend. I very easily could have made that video and said, I know why my friend Adam Krigler got fired off of Timcast IRL. And I've never talked about that publicly, contrary to rumors that Lydia wanted to start on the internet. I've never talked about that publicly because I don't take advantage of that shit. I have shared it with my local supporters on a couple of occasions on a private Zoom call where I know it's not going to make the rounds publicly. But the thing of it is I only shared that after a year of Lydia and Carrie Smith running around telling people that I was saying it publicly anyway. So I was like, you bitches want to say I'm talking about it publicly? Fine. But when that happened, I could have made a lot of money talking about that story, and I didn't. Why? Because I considered Adam a friend at that time, not anymore. Anyway, let's get into this video so we can see just how close friends Ali Beth is with Dave Rubin. Let me know, of course, as always, if there is a sound issue. Oh, now he's her colleague. Okay. Oh, no sound? Okay. Thank you, Patrice. Thank you, Patrice. Okay. Take two. Take two. I knew I did it wrong. Okay, starting over.
All right, guys. I just wanted to do a quick video to respond to a question that many of you have been asking me, and that is, what are my thoughts on my colleague Dave Rubin sharing that he is expecting 2 babies with his husband via surrogate? I am a Christian who has been very outspoken about the biblical definition of marriage, as well as my qualms with surrogacy. So this video is for those who have asked in.
So your beliefs, and again, I don't, and guys, let me know if the levels are somewhat reasonable. It sounds a little bit like I'm much louder than her on my end, but sometimes I can't always tell. So my issue here is that, there's nothing wrong with being a Christian and having your beliefs. Having your personal beliefs does not mean you cannot congratulate someone that you consider to be a friend when they have a momentous announcement. Pennsylvania Mises Caucus. Name calling and blocking your allies isn't a great look. The Mises Caucus is filled with Christians and conservatives who disagree with you on this. Disappointed. Well, those Christian conservatives don't have to come onto my channel and insult me. And I strongly doubt Pennsylvania Mises Caucus, and I don't know who's running this account right now. I strongly doubt that anyone in the Mises Caucus has come into my chat today and called me a leftist. And if they have, then they rightfully deserve to get blocked. But the only people who have been blocked today are the people who have been calling me a leftist. So if you let me make this real clear for you, Pennsylvania Mises Caucus. If you come on my channel and insult me, you're going to get your ass blocked. I don't care if you're Mises Caucus. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you stand for. If you come onto my channel during my live stream and are a proactive asshole in my chat just to be an asshole in my chat, I'm going to block you because you are disruptive to the chat. So if you can give me an example of someone who I have blocked today that did not first insult me and then explain to me why they should be allowed to come onto my channel and insult me, freedom of association, motherfuckers. I'll block whoever the fuck I want on my channel. You're welcome for coming to Pennsylvania to help you guys out. Don't come and insult me in my chat. Moving on.
Good faith, my perspective. This is not for all of those mean-spirited keyboard warriors who have demanded that I make a statement when and how they want me to. I don't care about them. I care about, as always, trying to add as much clarity to confusion that I possibly can. I have been on Dave's show where I have told him explicitly what I believe and why about marriage and sexuality. I have already talked to Dave privately about this situation, about how while I believe that he and his husband will make great dads, I cannot in good conscience send my congrats. It's hard trying to balance how
I would not be able to look myself in the mirror if I didn't congratulate someone I considered a friend on a momentous life occasion because that friend happens to disagree with me on something. Timothy is going to get blocked. Maybe you're another Mises person, maybe not, but you're actually, no, he just got put in timeout. That was an accident, maybe an act of God, who knows. But listen, like, for real, to say, I am a Christian and so I cannot congratulate you on something that was important to you. Okay. If that's the type of person you want to be, I just don't think that's a good example of Christianity. I don't think, Allie Beth, I don't think that you are a good example of Christ's love. I do not feel Christ's love wafting off of you right now at all, in any way. What I see is you're using a friend to make money on the internet.
to love someone and to show them that you support them in certain ways while also staying true to your values and representing those values honestly. So I'm going to give 4 reasons why I could not congratulate Dave either publicly or privately, even though I like him a lot and think that he is a great person. I will also answer the question about how I feel about the company that distributes my podcast, Blaze TV, publicly sending a congratulations about this. Connected to that, let me just say, because I know there's always speculation about this kind of thing, Blaze TV has never told me what I can or can't say. I have almost 600 episodes of Relatable. Never once have they censored me. I feel totally free to speak my mind They've always been that way. They've always supported their hosts in saying the things that they want to say. So, all of this said, I am going to give my theological reasons and my practical reasons for not being able to say congratulations. And for my theological reasons about why I believe what I do about marriage and surrogacy and all of that.
Allie Beth Stuckey is totally like one of these people that canceled me for my spiritual beliefs, but then went and said, well, my spiritual beliefs are just so important to me that I can't privately congratulate a friend. I would have so much more respect for people like this if they hadn't publicly canceled me for a spiritual belief that says God loves everyone unconditionally. Oh, here we go. Pennsylvania Mises Caucus update. Daniel called me a leftist. Daniel came on my stream and insulted me after I told him not to. In fact, I told Daniel to stop at least 2 times on this stream, and also to include yesterday. So Daniel did not respect my stream. Daniel did not respect my boundaries. Daniel did not respect my requests. And then Daniel insulted me. So am I obligated to allow Daniel, Mises Caucus, and I'm sure I'm actually talking to Daniel right now. I would bet money. Mises Caucus of Pennsylvania, am I obligated to allow someone to come on my channel and disrespect what I've asked them to do, disrespect me by insulting me after I asked them to stop on multiple occasions? Am I obligated to keep those people on my channel? No, I'm not. If you have feelings about this, you can go and work it out. But as of right now, if you come back again, I will block this account on my channel. I don't care if you're Mises Caucus or not. I am requesting right now that you stop disrupting my chat over your personal feelings. Go have a cry in the corner and work them out. But when you come on my channel and you insult me and you disrespect me and you ignore me when I ask you to stop, you're going to get blocked. And I have no obligation to do otherwise. Go cry out your feelings in the corner, Daniel. Go cry out your feelings.
I'm not saying this because I expect Dave to align with him. Dave is not a Christian. I am hoping to, again, add clarity for my fellow Christians, give you food for thought. I hope the practical parts of this will make all of you think a little bit more deeply about some of the subjects that we'll be discussing. My first reason I can't give my congratulations is because I cannot celebrate that which God calls sin. And
okay, has Allie Beth Stuckey ever eaten lobster? Has Allie Beth Stuckey ever caught a football? Has Allie Beth Stuckey ever eaten shrimp? Or any crustacean-like creature? Because we can play this game too. We can play this Bible game too. The Bible, Jesus damned a fig tree. Jesus damned a fig tree. Has Allie Beth Stuckey ever eaten a fig Newton? Has she ever eaten a dessert with figs in it? Has she ever enjoyed a dessert with figs in it, or a food with figs in it, or like a goat cheese and like fig pizza or something like that? Has Allie Beth Stuckey ever done that? Has Allie Beth Stuckey ever worn clothes made out of different materials? Those are all sins, Allie Beth, according to your Bible. We can play this game too. But no, someone starting a family just goes a step too far for her fragile sensibilities.
In this particular situation, I am talking about the definition of marriage according to the Bible. I know there's a lot of debate about what the Bible really says about sexuality, but the fact of the matter is that scripture spells it out really clearly. Not only is homosexuality explicitly prohibited in scripture, as in Romans 1:26 through 27, that's just one example, but the Bible,
most of what is in the Bible in regards to homosexuality has to do with men leaving their wives to go and gallivant around with other men. That's what it has to do with. It has to do with men leaving their wives and their families to go gallivant around with other men. Dave and David are not doing that. So yes, there are different interpretations of the Bible. And you can have whatever crazy fucking like conservative interpretation you want, but to not congratulate a friend over a amazing life event. That's not Christ's love. Sorry. That's not Christ's love.
Also
I
positive.
wonder if Allie, I think this is a great question, Natty. Has Allie Beth Stuckey ever lied? Do you think that Allie Beth Stuckey in every situation in her life has told the truth? Because lying's a pretty big sin, right? Lying's in like the top 10 of sins. You think she's ever lied? I bet she has. I bet she is the type of person that would lie to her girlfriend's face and then laugh about it after she left the room. That's the type of person I see her as. That's the vibe I get.
Positively defines marriage in one way, as between a man and a woman. I like to use an alliteration to help me remember why the definition of marriage is so important according to scripture. So here it is. The definition of marriage is between a man and a woman in the Bible is rooted in creation. It is reiterated throughout scripture. It's repeated by Jesus himself. It is representative of Christ in the church. And in that way, it is reflective of the gospel. So
she hates gay people so much that she has an alliteration to remind her of these specific Bible passages that she uses to rationalize hating gay people. Let's just wrap our heads around that for a second. She cares about being able to identify the specific passages of the Bible that condone her hatred of gay people, that she has an alliteration that she has memorized to help her remember those passages. That's like next level goddamn gay hating right there. Gypsy Wish Production says, my interpretation of the Bible is that it was written by men with agendas, while there were also books in the Bible that weren't actually included in the Bible. Of course. And if you look at the different books of the New Testament, in the different if you look at the New Testament in different versions of the Bible, which I've done, they say different things. There are many different ways to read the Bible. What we should be taking from the Bible, I believe, are sage life lessons, not reasons to hate people and not congratulate them on major life events.
let me just go through those really quickly. It's rooted in creation. Genesis 1:27 says God made us in his
Yes,
image.
explain your
as
gay
male
hating
and
alliteration.
female. Pretty straightforward. 2, it's
Oh,
reiterated
wait, hang
throughout
on.
scripture.
Hang on. She breezed right through that. But let's actually go back and look at that. Let's look at what she had on the screen there, because I mean, hang on.
Of the gospel. So let me just go through those really quickly. It's rooted in creation. Genesis 1:27 says God made us in his image as.
Okay, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. So what I believe, in my crazy woo-woo spiritual beliefs, is that there is masculine and feminine in everything. Every single one of us, regardless of the genitals that we have between our legs, every single one of us has masculine aspects and every single one of us has feminine aspects. You can actually visualize them. This is the symbol for masculine right here. This is the symbol for feminine. We all have both masculine, and you can imagine why that would be the symbol for masculine, right? We all have both masculine parts of ourselves and we all have feminine parts of ourselves, because life is about balance. It is a balance of both aspects. We all contain both aspects. That's how I read that, because I don't have some crazy Christian interpretation that I'm using an alliteration for to allow me to hate gay people. Ty Green says she's virtue signaling, line drawn with Rubin, but not with her support of Trump, a known adulterer and divorcee. She's literally had gay conversion therapists on her YouTube channel. No shame in her hypocrisy. I'm sure she's a deeply loving, caring woman that just wants Christ's love. She just wants everyone to experience Christ's love, even though she can't congratulate a friend on a major life event. Okay, moving on.
Male and female. Pretty straightforward. 2, it's reiterated throughout scripture. One example of this, Exodus 20:12, says that we are to honor our father and our mother. Again, pretty specific.
Honor your father. Well, everyone does have a father and a mother, but you could also interpret that to mean the people who raised you. That your days may be long in the land of the Lord. Yeah, that's saying to honor the people who raised you, dude. Is Allie Beth insinuating that people who are adopted shouldn't honor the people who adopted them? Is Allie Beth Stuckey insinuating that people who grew up in foster homes, or maybe like had like a foster care system, were in the foster care system, shouldn't honor people who maybe went out of their way for them when they had no one else in their lives? Is that what's being said right now? Kind of sounds like it. Only the biological ones matter, not the people who actually like rear us. Okay.
Ephesians 6:2 in the New Testament says that this is the first commandment with a promise. So pretty important. And then 3, it's repeated by Jesus himself. A lot of people say Jesus never talked about marriage or sexuality or gender. That's not true. Matthew 19:4-5, in answering a question about divorce, Jesus goes back to creation. He says that God has created marriage as a union between husband and wife. And then 4,
Hang on. I actually want to see what she wrote, because she doesn't actually give enough time for people to actually read what
it's
she's got on the screen.
representative of Christ
Hang
in
on.
the church.
Hang on. We need to.
Between husband.
Okay. He answered, "Have you not read that he who created them from the beginning made them male and female? And he said, therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh." Okay. Jesus also damned a fig tree. That's in the Bible. Jesus damned a fig tree. Jesus did many things. Jesus helped a prostitute. Jesus did lots of things. Yeah, between one man and one woman, unless you get divorced, unless you have multiple partners like David. God.
Husband and wife. And then 4, it's representative of Christ in the church. Read Ephesians 5:22-33 to read what I'm talking about. It tells us that.
Okay, hang on. Pause, because she's going to go too fast. Therefore, a man shall leave his father. Oh, this is the same thing we already read. Leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. This mystery is profound, and I am saying that it refers to Christ and the church. So it's an allegory. She's literally got it on the screen right there. This is an allegory. The Bible is filled with allegories. It's filled with wisdom. It is not meant to be a literal interpretation. This is the problem with all Christianity. Yeah, Celtic spirits covet, damned a fig tree because it didn't produce fruit. Just like man, don't produce fruit of the goddess. Context is confusing for people who never study the Bible. Are men to be damned when they are no longer fertile? I mean, I'm just saying. One early book of the Bible said marriage was a worldly thing and you had to be married to God. Exactly. There are many different interpretations.
Between a Christian husband and wife is actually an earthly picture of the eternal union between Christ, the groom, and his church, the bride. So that means that the definition of marriage between man and woman doesn't only have physical significance, but actually eternal significance. And then that leads to number 5. In this way, as it is representative of Christ in the church, it is also reflective of the gospel, the Bible, and therefore all of human history starts with a marriage between Adam and Eve and ends with a marriage between Christ, the groom, and his bride, the church.
Oh, wait. So you're saying that it's not literal? So you're saying that when you say marriage, it's not literal? Because the church is not a woman. The church is an entity. The church is an institution. If you're saying that Christ is married to the church, which is fine, it's fine, that's not a literal marriage. That is not, Christ being married to the church is not a marriage between a man and a woman. Allie Beth, you are literally contradicting your own argument in your own video. It is not a literal interpretation. That is entirely the goddamn point. Incognito says, and yet Jesus magically appeared in Mary's womb. Yes, that is one of the silly things that Christians believe, that Mary was a virgin. And we all believe I believe very weird things. I say all the time, I believe weird shit. Christians absolutely believe weird shit. We are all allowed to believe our weird shit, but you have to acknowledge that my weird shit isn't any weirder than your weird shit. We both have certain levels of weird stuff. Paul, who wrote the books that she quotes on homosexuality as well, he told us we shouldn't marry because God was coming back soon. If we did that, we all would not be here. I wonder if Allie Beth believes in marriage, even though Paul says that we shouldn't marry. Graphically Alex says, marriage does not have eternal significance in Christianity. She is literally wrong. Imagine my surprise. Imagine my surprise.
Far be it from us to change a definition that is so eternally weighty.
You literally just changed the definition in the previous sentence. Let me just rewind real quickly so we can hear this contradiction again, because she literally changes the definition mid-sentence. Allie Beth has led up to this being like, Jesus said that marriage is between a man and a woman. It's between a man and a woman, a man and a woman, a man and a woman. She said it like 4 times, and she even wrote a little analogy or a little freaking like alliterative device to help her remember the specific passages from the Bible. Now let's listen again.
The gospel, the Bible, and therefore all of human history starts with a marriage between Adam and Eve and ends with a marriage between Christ, the groom, and his bride, the church.
The church is not a woman. If you want to take a literal interpretation of the Bible, fine, I guess. But then don't shift literally in the same sentence to a figurative interpretation of the Bible. The church is not a woman. The church is not a human being. The church does not have a gender. The church does not have a sexuality. If you're talking about the Bible starting with marriage with Adam and Eve, fine, that, I guess is between a man and a woman, but ends with a marriage between Christ and the church, that is literally saying that you are not interpreting it literally, Allie Beth.
Far be it from us to change a definition that is so eternally weighty. So I can't.
She literally changed the definition mid-sentence. She didn't change the definition. She changed the interpretation. Sorry. She literally changed the interpretation from a literal interpretation of the Bible with Adam and Eve to a figurative interpretation of the Bible with a marriage between Christ and the church. The church is not a real woman.
Celebrate that which God condemns. God is love. 1 John 4:8 tells us that. Therefore, he defines love. The world likes to define love as unconditional affirmation of everyone's choices, but God is love, and he says some things are wrong. So if God is love and he defines love, that means everything that he says is right or wrong. He says out of
don't Christians say that you're supposed to love the sinner and not the sin? Isn't that a thing Christians say? You're supposed to love the sinner and not the sin? Isn't that something God would do? Wouldn't God love the sinner and not the sin? So you're telling me you love your friend Dave Rubin so much because you love the sinner and not you love the sinner and not the sin. You don't have to like, what Dave does in bed, I suppose, fine. But you're saying you love the sinner so much that you couldn't congratulate them on starting a family? Okay, doesn't sound like Christ's love to me.
Of love. Therefore, the most loving thing I can do is agree with God. And this is just kind of a sub point under point number 1. As a conservative, I think that we are supposed to be conserving the things that build strong, free, functioning, flourishing society.
Except for freedom of religion. Conservatives don't conserve freedom of religion. They don't care to conserve freedom of religion. They want everyone to be a conservative Christian. They want to conserve everything except the First Amendment when it comes to people who aren't Christian. Doesn't sound very conservative to me, but fine.
Societies, the foundation of that, whether you like it or not, is biblical morality. And the second layer
No.
is the family. the nuclear family. If you don't conserve those two things, you don't get any other tenet of conservatism.
I just want to note at this juncture that my spiritual belief system is older than Ali Best's spiritual belief system. There are many elements that the Bible cribbed from my spiritual belief system. So we could actually argue that my spiritual belief system provided the foundations for this. And my spiritual belief system says that God's love is unconditional. That God does not love hot more than he loves cold. He does not love good more than he loves bad. God loves everyone by pure virtue of their existence, because we all come from God. And if God didn't love us, then God wouldn't love himself. That's what I believe. And that is a belief system that her Bible cribbed elements of because it's older than her Bible.
We can be anti-woke, we can be anti-left-wing, we can be anti-postmodern nonsense together, but you can only get so far playing defense. You can only get so far saying what you are against. You can't win if you're not building, and you can't build without a foundation.
Is she actually arguing that conservatives have a platform of what they stand for? What do you stand for, Ali Beth? Because I have been asking conservatives for damn near 2 years now what their platform is, what type of world they want to build, what do they actually stand for, what is their vision, what do they support. I have yet to get any effing answer on any of these questions. So, oh, hang on. Sorry, I had an issue on my screen. So I have yet to get an answer on any of these questions at all, even though I've been asking for 2 years. So what exactly is the thing that conservatives are trying to build? That's my question.
Christianity and the family are the foundation of the West. If you reject those two things, if you try to redefine
Christianity is the foundation of the West? Okay, let's listen to that again. Hang on. I was talking over it.
Christianity and the family are the foundation of the West.
No. Christianity is not the foundation of the West. I know Christians want to believe it is. But to be blunt, many of the people who founded America were not really practicing Christians in any significant way. That is just untrue. Now, one of the things that this country was founded on was religious freedom, as it turns out. And you could argue that the Puritans were Christian, fine, whatever, and the Puritans had their very rigid lifestyle, and they just wanted to be able to live their very rigid lifestyle. But the very first amendment to the fucking Constitution says freedom of religion. So don't tell me that Christianity is the foundation for any of this. Because the very first amendment of the Constitution says I can believe whatever the F I want.
If you reject those two things, if you try to redefine or dismantle those two things, everything else
You're the one redefining it, Ali Beth.
As a conservative will be gone too. I assure you that. Leah Thomas is currently competing against women in swimming, not because of a few crazy progressives, but because of conservatives who decided 10 years ago or more that they were going to see the most important battles on morality and sexuality. And if you don't believe me, unfortunately, all we got to do is wait and see. Number 2, I believe that children have a
to any conservative listening to this right now, if you follow people like this, you will never win another election again. If you really want to conserve things, if that is really your goal, I don't necessarily believe it is, because again, I don't even know what you stand for. I don't know what your party platform is. You haven't updated it in 10 years. If you follow people like this, you will never have any opportunity to conserve anything, because you will never win another election again. That is fact. I'm sorry. If conservatives do what I think they're going to do and they make abortion the central issue of every election moving forward instead of focusing on critical race theory where they should actually be focusing, they will never win another election again. If you want to conserve things, you need to win elections. If you want to win elections, you need to get votes. When you follow people like this that have no resemblance to the pure, beautiful love of Christ and what Christ actually preached, when you follow people like this, you make it impossible for people like me to vote for you. Because what you are telling me is that you will give into your inner authoritarians, just like we saw the left give into their inner authoritarians for the last 2 years. You're no different from the party I left. Therefore, you don't get my vote. If you don't get the votes of the people who are not Christian conservatives, you will never win another election again. I just don't know how much more clear I can be on this. This is a numbers game. Most people in the country are not Christian conservatives. And when Christian conservatives are demonstrating their Christianity and Christ's love as saying, I can't congratulate my friend on having kids. I can't do it publicly. I can't do it privately. It is just too much. You don't represent anything I want to be associated with.
Fundamental right to a mom and a dad. From a theological standpoint, not only do I want to honor God's created order, I am also against robbing a child of the opportunity to fulfill that first commandment with a promise: honor your father and mother.
Okay, hang on. Sam says pre-Christian Greek and Roman philosophy is the West. Yes, that is absolutely correct. So now Allie Beth's saying, oh, by Dave Rubin and his husband engaging a surrogate, they've robbed those children of their mother. These children would never have been born if Dave Rubin and his husband hadn't gone through surrogacy. They never would have been born. They never had that available to them anyway. And as someone who grew up with a less than loving mother, and again, no shade to my parents because I think my parents tried the best they could. I really do. I think my parents are both very broken people. I think they tried the best they could. But as someone who grew up with parents who didn't really love her, I would take 2 loving fathers every day of the week over what I grew up with. Maybe Allie Beth didn't have that experience. Maybe Allie Beth had a perfect, idyllic childhood. But if you think that growing up with parents who don't really love you is a walk in the park because you've got a mother and a father, as opposed to 2 loving fathers who will take care of you and love you and support you and provide you with everything you need, I've got some news to share with this one. Smooney said, conservatives need to stop focusing on how kids are conceived or a family comes about and focus more on what kids are learning in school. I agree with that. AD says, trying to get away from the 12 tribes in Rutland was an experience. All right, let's keep going.
And I also see throughout scripture that fatherlessness is a category of vulnerability. And I think it's safe to say that robbing a child of their mother, creating mass motherlessness, which is really a historical phenomenon, qualifies as unbiblical as well. And
this is not mass motherlessness. This has nothing to do with the present situation. All of this is rationalization for why she can be a gay hater. That's all this is. This is not mass motherlessness. These are children that are going to have 2 loving parents. That's all that should matter.
On these 2 points, I have been enlightened by Katie Faust of Them Before Us, and I'm very thankful for her perspective on this. And then the more practical reason I believe that kids have a fundamental right to a mom and a dad is because decades of social science have told us that that is the ideal situation for kids to grow up and thrive.
Of course, so those studies don't take into consideration how those children are treated by their biological mother and father. They don't take into consideration the nuances of the situation. They're looking at larger trends, which is fine and understandable. But to be quite frank, I don't know that there has been a large enough data set of what happens when you have children raised in households with 2 gay parents. What happens to those children? Because this hasn't really been going on that long, so I don't know that there is actually a large enough data set to even compare the 2. What she's probably comparing is parents that were raised in a one-parent household to parents raised in a two-parent household. That's all fine, well, and good. But, and correct me if I'm wrong, are there any studies that compare the outcomes of children raised in two-parent households when those two parents are gay and two-parent households when those parents are straight? Have there been any studies comparing the two? Because I would strongly doubt that there has even been a critical mass of people to allow those studies to occur. So she's making assumptions based on the difference between one-parent households and two-parent households. Those are not the same thing. They're not the same thing. Gypsy Whiz Productions also brings up a great point. So in my belief system, as you know, I believe that people make choices before they are born in spirit form, pre-planning and soul contracts, or those children wouldn't be born. What I believe, since we're talking about beliefs and we're all allowed to have our own beliefs, is that those children made an agreement with Dave and David when all of them were spiritual beings before Dave and David were even born, when they're all spiritual beings floating around in the sky, that Dave and David would be their parents. That's what I believe. I believe it was an agreement before they were born. I believe we all choose our parents, by the way. I believe that we choose our parents. I believe we choose the location in which we were born for different reasons, because we need to learn different lessons in life. Justin says, before you remove the splinter from your neighbor's eye, remove the splinter from thine one. Paraphrasing, aka, mind your own business, Allie Beth. Also, he who is without sin should cast the first stone. Excuse me, it's the rafter from your own. I gotcha.
Let me read you a finding from the University of Virginia that is reflective of the decades of social science before this kind of research was considered taboo and politically incorrect. Quote, the intact biological married family remains the gold standard for family life in the United States.
Okay, where is this from? UVA's National Marriage Project. So that was probably a biased study to begin with. Allie Beth has not told us anything about the study. She hasn't told us what the research questions were. She hasn't told us what the inclusion-exclusion criteria is. She hasn't told us the methodology for the study. She hasn't actually told us anything about the study at all that would allow the study to achieve this outcome of the intact biological married family remains the gold standard for family life in the United States. So let's just give her the benefit of the doubt, which I'm not necessarily inclined to do because I can tell based on where the study came out that it was probably a biased study to begin with. But let's just say she's telling the truth. Dave and David are married. They are married. It is an intact biological married family. This sentence could be describing their family. But she hasn't given us any other information about the study, so I don't exactly know why we should trust one sentence pulled out of a much larger context. But even if it was, they're a family.
States. That's because this model provides best what children need emotionally, mentally, psychologically, again, in order to thrive throughout their lives. That doesn't mean that there are not exceptions. The reality is there are a lot of bad biological.
How exactly are Dave and David not an intact biological family? How are they not? Those kids are going to have DNA from them. Those kids are their biological kids in real life. Those kids are also going to be related to each other. So they are related that way. How is it even fathomable that two married men in a long-term committed relationship with having children that are biologically theirs and biologically related, how is that not an intact biological family? It literally meets all the conditions, Allie Beth. You owned yourself there.
Parents out there. Of course, that is true. But we are talking about the ideal setup based on decades of data. And it's one thing when a child falls into a scenario where this isn't possible, where the family isn't intact. And adoption is a beautiful redemptive option that I am very supportive of. It's another thing to
Wait, so again, someone mentioned earlier, and this is a really, I think it was Ty maybe. Someone mentioned earlier in the chat that the only difference between adoption and surrogacy is that there's a middleman involved. They're functionally the same. They're functionally exactly the same, but Allie Beth has no problem with adoption and all problems with surrogacy. Be honest, she probably did this to calm down her audience. What are the odds that she was this clueless about Dave and David's plans to do this? The odds are nil. Dave has been talking about this for like 2 years. She knew they were married years ago, and Rubin wrote about fatherhood in his book. There is literally zero chance that Allie Beth Stuckey did not know that this was coming. There was zero chance of that happening. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it.
intentionally create a child, to rob them of the opportunity to have a mother or a father, to take away their opportunity to have the setup that we know.
No one has taken anything away from these children because these children would never have been born if it wasn't for this surrogacy. They never would have been born. You could actually make the argument with adoption. You could make the argument that adoption is robbing the child of the ability to have a relationship with their mother. You could actually make that argument. The child is born to their biological mother and then taken from the arms of their biological mother. Now, I don't have anything against adoption. I really don't. But that's more, adoption is more robbing the child of their biological mother than surrogacy is, because those children would never exist without the surrogacy. Adoption is a different thing.
Is most ideal for their well-being. Children deserve to know whose they are, from where they come, and intentionally prohibiting them from doing that, in my opinion, is wrong.
Then why do you support adoption? Because it is exactly the same thing. So she's a hypocrite. I know, I'm shocked. I know, I'm shocked.
Number 3, this goes with number 2.
I'm so glad I never talked to
Children
her.
are not social experiments. Every single person on the planet right now, every single person that has ever lived throughout human history has a biological mom and dad. Across time and cultures, this has been the family. It takes an insane amount of hubris for us to think today that we can completely rearrange the family and that it would have no consequences.
How old is she? Can someone Google for me and find out how old she is? Because she, to me, quite frankly, comes across as incredibly young, incredibly low life experience, and incredibly naive. Can someone Google how old she is for me? I would appreciate it.
Especially for the most vulnerable party, which is children. We have no idea the extent of the long-term repercussions of intentionally taking a child away from their biological mom or dad.
Then why do you support adoption? Then why do you... She's not 45. No. AD, you're giving me different... I no longer believe AD. AD is making things up. No, for real. I do want to know how old she's. There's no way she's 45. Come on. Okay, if you don't support taking children away from their biological parents, then you don't support adoption. Like, that's just... I mean, my God. Okay. She's 30? Yeah, she acts 30. She did. Allie Beth, I was dumb when I was 32. I was dumb and naive when I was 30 years old too, girl. I was still a Democrat when I was 30. You got a lot of growing to do.
Especially in the case of 2 men hiring a surrogate, where you are buying eggs from one woman, you are renting the womb of another woman, and then you are taking
I also thought I knew everything when I was 32, so I understand that.
The child away from both the biological mom and the woman who...
The biological mother would never have had the child. Like, I don't know why, how can she... Yeah, AD, I knew you were trolling. All good. All good. How can she not rationalize this? She is completely supportive of taking an adoptive child away from their biological parent, but she's not in favor of a child that never would have existed otherwise going through surrogacy. That makes no sense.
Who has carried that. I don't think we've even begun to see the potential impact of that. We know that children in the womb can be affected by the trauma and the stress that is experienced by the woman who is carrying the child. We know as moms the psychological and physiological importance of bonding after birth, of skin to skin, of eye contact. We are told this throughout our pregnancy, and yet we suspend the knowledge that we have when it comes to men creating a child and taking them away from the surrogate because it's politically incorrect.
So you seem to also suspend that judgment when it comes to adoption because you're taking a biological child away from their biological parents. You're literally not applying your standards that you just said mere minutes before. Allie Beth, you don't even need a lot of recall in order to remember what you said a couple of minutes before. Adoption is a wonderful and beautiful thing, but not surrogacy, where you're removing a child from their biological parents. But it's totally fine to remove a biological child from their parents when it comes to adoption. Adoption is beautiful, but not surrogacy for those evil gay men who are stealing babies from their biological mother. Dude, like, you're contradicting yourself literally without taking a breath. And this is like the third time you've done it in this video. I mean, maybe a little extra editing on your script? I don't know, dude. Like, get a producer or something, because someone should be calling out these raging inconsistencies. Sam says, each child is going home with their biological dad. That is exactly right. No child in this scenario is being robbed of their biological parents.
Too many people are too scared to even ask these questions because they don't want to be called homophobic. And they're actually so scared of being called a name that even if you could prove to them that this was harmful to children, it wouldn't matter. They care.
If Allie Beth could have proved that surrogacy was harmful to children, then she would have had a study proving that surrogacy was harmful to children. Do you know how we know that she didn't have that study? Because she cited a study from like the 1980s that said that children are better raised in a biologically intact family, which these children will be, as a reminder. But if she had any study at all that said that surrogacy was psychologically damaging to children, she would have cited it. She didn't cite it because she didn't have it. Why doesn't she have it? Surrogacy has been around a while. I would imagine this has been studied somewhere, somehow. So if Allie Beth is so convinced that the evidence is just overwhelming that surrogacy is damaging to the children it produces, then where's the study, Allie Beth? You've already cited one study. Why aren't you citing this one?
They're more about just going along with the next cultural trend. Then the fourth reason is I am morally opposed to the commercialized surrogacy industry. And I'm not talking about necessarily the woman who...
Wait. So surely in the section of this video that is about her heartfelt opposition to the commercial surrogacy industry, surely Allie Beth will be able to produce but one study that says that surrogacy is bad for children. Surely there will be just one study that proves that surrogacy is bad. Let's see.
The child of her sister who has cancer. I think that that's probably a separate ethical conversation to have. I am talking mostly about the commercialized surrogacy industry that both here and abroad is in general very corrupt. It is essentially the commodification and the objectification of both women and children. Yeah.
Do women make a choice to participate in that market? Has any woman ever been forced at gunpoint to be a surrogate or to donate their eggs? Or was it a choice? Was it a choice that they made that they were compensated for, and they must have deemed that they were fairly compensated for it because they did it, they took the deal? So does Allie Beth, let me ask you a question, because I don't watch this person at all. Does she support capitalism? Does Allie Beth support capitalism? Just curious. I'm sure she doesn't support prostitution. I think that probably goes without saying. I'm sure she's barely had sex in her life. Firestarter says, this all goes out the window for children of, yep, that's exactly right, Firestarter. That is exactly right. Everything that she's saying now will go poof when it comes to the abortion argument, in which Allie Beth has said to me personally on Twitter that she supports women who have been assaulted being forced to have the children of their assailants. She supports that. That's not dehumanizing to women. But surrogacy, in which women are opting into it, that's different? Okay. Seems a little contradictory to me, but all right.
Yes, women are consenting to it. But in poor countries around the world and in poor areas here, a lot of women, they're first recruited and then they feel pressure because it's good money and they're not always presented with all of the potential risks. Surrogacy is a high risk pregnancy. The body is carrying a child that it didn't actually create.
Did Dave and David use a surrogate from a third world country that I don't know about? Because that just popped up into her argument out of nowhere. She was like, yes, women choose to be surrogates, but in third world countries, they're exploited. Did Dave and David use a surrogate from a third world country? I mean, no shade on them if they did, but I suspect they didn't. I suspect that's not the case. I'm just saying.
Create. That's why a very high number of them end in miscarriage or in premature delivery. Now, who is that fair to? Is it fair to the child who suffers or dies? Is it fair to the woman who is then left?
Is she making the argument that because a pregnancy might end in a miscarriage, that's not a reason to do it? I know women who have had multiple miscarriages. I know women who their doctors, they had so many miscarriages that their doctors told them that a pregnancy to term was going to be a near impossible feat. Should those women have not tried to have a family with their husband? I know a woman who had, excuse me, I know a woman who had 3 miscarriages before she finally had her kid and has 2 of them now. Should that woman, because she had so many miscarriages, have not even tried because it would be unfair to the potentially miscarried child to try? That doesn't make any sense.
To endure the physical, mental, emotional trauma of those experiences, women's wombs should not be for rent by rich strangers. And consent doesn't automatically make that okay. Consent is not the only factor that you consider when you are judging whether or not something is moral or ethical.
So what Allie Beth is saying right here is that she wants to be able to make decisions for other women. Allie Beth Stuckey thinks that she should be personally responsible for making choices for other women, regardless of whether they follow her spiritual beliefs or not. That's literally what she's saying. Just because you consent to something doesn't mean you should. She wants to be the decider. That is an authoritarian right there. Authoritarianism can exist on the right just as it can on the left. That's an authoritarian. Anyone who says just because you can consent to something doesn't really mean you should be given the choice. And we should be making the choice based on my standards, not your standards. What she's really saying is women who make the choice to be surrogates are not autonomous human beings that are capable of making their own decisions. She wants these women to be slaves to whatever Allie Beth tells them is okay.
So let's have some common sense, some thoughtfulness,
common sense, indeed,
compassion toward all the parties who are involved in this situation. And conservatives talk a lot about the erasure of women because of the transgender movement, using terms like pregnant people or birthing people. I mentioned Leah Thomas earlier, taking records and titles and spots away from women. Conservatives are really angry about this because this is erasing women. Well, look, 2 men buying eggs and then renting a uterus is also the erasure of women. You're basically saying that men and women, moms and dads, are totally interchangeable and that we can just buy and rent women's bodies, and then they could be moved out of the picture and it's fine. I'm sorry, I don't think that's fine. As Christians, I don't think we should be
So then why do you support adoption? Because it's the exact fucking same thing.
celebrating the disruption of God's created order, especially when the consequences of this disruption rest on innocent children. As conservatives, in my opinion, we are supposed to be conserving some of the most fundamental parts of a free and functioning civilization, one of which is the nuclear family. As people, I think that we should have compassion for all of the parties involved in these situations. And if you want to know more about the surrogacy industry, I have linked to episodes that I've done in the past with a woman named Jennifer Law, where we talk about a lot of this. Now, do I care that Blaze TV, the company that distributes my podcast, tweeted out a congratulations that seemed to be representative of the company as a whole? I definitely disagreed with that decision. And that's really all I'll say about that. I'm thankful that I'm allowed to voice my disagreement however and whenever I want to. So
not only does Allie Beth not want to offer congratulations to someone she calls a friend, she also wants to prevent other people who give her a platform, from offering their congratulations as well. Okay, I know she didn't say she wanted to force them. She's just like, I disagree. I actually really like the Blaze. I know people have their opinions about the Blaze. I actually really like the Blaze on the whole. I really like the leadership of the Blaze. I like Glenn Beck, even though he might disagree on this issue, but I think he's handled it in a positive way. I like many of the people on the Blaze. And so I am glad that they did not take 30-year-old Allie Beth's advice and did the right thing and offered congratulations to one of their hosts, who I think is probably more successful than Allie Beth. I don't know. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. It shouldn't honestly even really matter. If we're being blunt about it, it shouldn't matter who's more successful, but I'm going to guess it's Dave.
am I trying to balance? How do we balance loving someone who makes a decision that we really fundamentally, morally, even theologically disagree with? Well, I think that we talk to them, we continue to show up for them, we support them in the ways that we can, as long as that is not us affirming something that God calls sin. They are made in the image of God. Their children are made in the image.
If anyone ever sees Allie Beth at a restaurant or something eating some form of shellfish, please take a picture of that for me. If anyone ever learns, Allie Beth right now seems to be wearing clothes of 2 different types of cloth. I don't know. Why would Allie Beth do that in a video in which she's not affirming sin? I just don't understand. How could she be such a sinner on video when she's not trying to affirm sin?
Image of God, and therefore they have amazing value and worth just like the rest of us. And so we pray for them. We help them in whatever tangible ways we can. We are kind to them.
But you don't congratulate them. No, you're not kind to them. You're a judgmental
That's my
bitch.
goal. I know that, this will still make some people angry. I am trying to be as gracious as I possibly can without compromising at all on the truth. And a lot of you were sincerely asking for clarity on this, and I wanted to give it. So I hope this helps.
That seems, I don't know if there's an ad or something that there's going, but hang on. We'll see. We'll see if there's anything after the ad. I do actually have some other stuff. In the meantime, Ego Brain has apparently been perusing the study that Allie Beth has claimed supported her, and apparently it doesn't actually support her. I know I am shocked that Allie Beth would deliberately misinterpret a study. Okay, that is actually it. I know I am shocked personally that Allie Beth would deliberately misinterpret a study that she claimed supported her, and it turns out it does not actually support her. So no, I didn't find anything about this argument compelling at all. Are you actually making the argument that I'm canceling her? You're going to get a timeout. Timeout for you. So no, nothing that Allie Beth said in that video convinced me at all in any way that she is correct. I don't know. Did it convince any of you? I would like to know your thoughts in the chat. Meanwhile, let me know. Let me chat it in what you thought about Allie Beth's arguments. I would love to see them. Just saying hi to people over on Odyssey. Looks like we've got Build Back Reader over on there. Oh yeah, dude, I definitely agree with your assessment of Allie Beth. I'll tell you that. We got some folks chiming in on Rockfin. We've got some folks over on Rumble, I think, and even on Gitter today, which is pretty rad. But guys, what did you think of her arguments? Because to me, they seem to completely contradict each other mid-sentence. There was nothing other than like the typical, honestly, Christian stuff that I've heard over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, all throughout the time. Like I was paying attention to this stuff in the 90s. Let's see what you had to say. Justin says, I found the doublethink amusing. No, we're not flirting with cancellation at all. I'm offering an opinion. I do not want Allie Beth deplatformed. I don't even want, I'm going to make this very clear. I don't want any of you forming any sort of cancel mob to go after her. I don't want any mean tweets. I don't want anyone calling for her cancellation. I don't want anyone attacking her. I am offering an opinion right now on my channel that people can choose to watch and engage in or not. No one is forcing anyone to watch anything. I'm offering an opinion and telling everyone, do not go after her. She's allowed to have her opinion, as stupid as I think it is, but she's allowed to have it. Brent says, narrow-minded pandering. I would agree with that. Jared says, women are kind of supposed to be subservient in all ways, basically, and be given permission to speak. Did she get that permission from her husband to speak? I wonder if she did. I wonder if Allie Beth got permission from her husband for that. Sin says she comes across as very naive. I agree with that. She comes across as her age. I'll tell you that. Sam says, arguments were internally inconsistent and logically flawed. Yes. Oh, Ego Brain found a study about specifically about gay parents. Here it is. This one is called Same-Sex and Different-Sex Parent Households and Children and Child Health Outcomes, finding from the National Survey of Child's Health. And it is specifically about gay parents, and there's no negative outcome. Huh. I wonder why Allie Beth didn't include that in her video. I wonder why. Steve says, Allie Beth's argument is an embarrassment to anyone claiming to be a conservative. Jared said it was vapid. Phoenix Eclipse says the study that was referenced is from 2016. The one she used was older, from the 80s. That's exactly correct. The mental gymnastics were impressive. I agree. Listen, I heard so many good things about this video. I was really actually open to there being decent arguments in this video, but there weren't. There were no decent arguments at all. It was just conservative Christian pandering. I think it's so sad. I wanted more from her. I really did. I was really hoping. I was like, maybe she has some rationalization for not congratulating someone who she says is a friend that I just haven't thought of. Nope. No, she didn't. She didn't at all. All right, guys. Well, that's all I've got for this time. This stream went extra long today, 2.5 hours. Jesus Christ. I got to go eat some food. But guys, if you enjoyed the stream today, I do this every day at 5, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday on my main channel. On Fridays, we go over to my second channel, Actively Unwoke. On Saturdays, I rest. I will be back tomorrow on the channel at 5. If you want to know what I'm talking about, you can tune in a little early. I do post the stream earlier to see what the topics of the day are, but I do like to wait to see what's going on to decide what I want to talk about. If you want to support the work I'm doing and get access to some amazing perks, like the 2 community Zoom calls that I do every single week, like the book club that is happening this weekend, and it is not too late to join, you're going to want to become a member of my Locals community. Locals is the best place on the internet. You can join for $5 a month. You can join for a limited time only for $45 for the year, which gives you 3 months for free. You can make a one-time gift. I greatly appreciate all the support I get. Guys, I will be back at 5 o'clock tomorrow. I hope you all have a great rest of your evening. Take care, and we'll see you soon.